Indian FTRs, my favorite subject. Indian has got new FTRs coming. They've been announced and they asked us to come down and present the new bikes. So Indian Motorcycles UK wanted us at Bike World to come and make a video to show their customers the new range of FTRs. The happy side effect to that is that it means we get a sneak peek early on at the new bikes and a chance to push them around, fiddle with them, pick holes in them, and see what we do and don't like. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know I've got a soft spot for the FTR, based purely on enjoyment. The first time I rode it, I'm completely honest here, I was not looking forward to it. I was like, it's going to be another great big cruisery bike and it's going to be okay. And the first time I opened the throttle, I was completely taken aback because it is a mad bike. It's a sort of cool, comfortable roadster cruiser, whatever you want to call it, but you don't have to sacrifice having fun and a big loud engine. And that kind of got its hooks into me. Over the last year and a bit, that's my FTR, and I have done loads of stupid things on it. It's been raced around the farm at home. Neil took it to the Mallee Mile and drag raced it off-road with big knobbly tyres on it. I've been flat track practicing and managed to get one flat track race in last year. Everything we've thrown at it, it's kind of taken in its stride. It's been chucked into situations it was never designed to go in and somehow keeps coming up. And there's always something that's a better bike. There's always something with more performance or less weight or better chassis or better handling, but it's one bike that guaranteed every time you ride it, it puts a massive smile on your face. And outside of competition world, that's the most important thing with motorcycles. So where does that leave us with the new FTRs? What have they done? If you remember, the first thing I did with this was took it straight to a track day and ragged it around Brands Hatch in the dry and then in the wet. Turns out that was maybe a bit of a premonition on my behalf because Indian has taken the FTR and pushed it more towards a sort of sports road bike. This first one was pitched as a kind of flat tracker, cool for the road thing. They've now taken that and made it a bit more sporty. So the biggest thing they've changed, 17-inch wheels, rather than the 19 front, 18 rear that you see on my bike and the earlier FTRs. Doing that with a 180 section rear tyre, 120/70 front, normal sports bike tyre sizes, massively opens up tyre selection. Now, as well as the wheels, Indian has sharpened up the steering geometry on the bike, so it's now got a steeper head angle and the trail's been reduced. Again, those figures they've pushed more towards a sports bike figure, and at the same time they've shortened the suspension travel. So instead of the 150mm that my bike's got, they're both, or the R Carbon and the S, are down to 120mm of travel. Again, pure sports bikes figures there. On track, mine was great fun, but definitely not a sports bike. You definitely had to kind of pull it around the turns a bit. I'm really excited to see if this new sharper geometry has kind of brought a bit more childish playfulness out of the bike when it gets to road riding. I'm not going to lie, my initial reaction was a little bit, I don't know, disappointment's probably not the right word, but I was a bit gutted that they've moved away from the flat tracker off-road stupidity that I've properly fallen in love with on my one. But they've still got the FTR Rally, which is the taller, knobbly tyre, big barred, kind of off-road, hooner ground on gravel tracks version. So they've kind of kept that off-road side to the FTR family, but the FTR, the FTRS and the FTR R Carbon are all pushed more towards a road bias. Now, other things they've changed on it, one of the things I've struggled with on mine has been cold running. So if it's cold morning, you start it up, it's definitely a bit fluffy, a bit hesitant on the throttle. It was a little bit noticeable in the standard bike, and then when I've put exhaust and decat pipe and mucked around with it, it's got to the point where I probably will need to remap mine because I've mucked around with it so much. But the standard bike always had that little bit of not perfect fueling, shall we say, when it's cold running. That's something that Indian has kind of addressed. They've listened to feedback from their customers. I doubt they listened to me because I'm an idiot, but it's nice to think they did. And what they've done there is, improve that cold running, improve the sort of throttle response throughout the rev range. We haven't had a chance to give it a proper test yet, but when we do, we'll hopefully prove them right. And if not, we'll call them out on it for sure. Another thing they've done, I'm bored of talking about Euro 5. Every time I mention a new motorcycle now, I have to talk about Euro 5. It's like a lot of the manufacturers hang it out as a thing like, we're really sorry, we've had to make emissions regulations. Indian hasn't lost any performance for Euro 5, which is awesome. What they have done is they've changed how the engine works to manage its emissions. So if you're sat in traffic or really slow riding, it'll actually switch off the rear cylinder. So it just becomes a 600cc single to manage heat, to keep the heat down on the bike, to make it more comfortable as a rider, and to reduce emissions. I don't know, I think it's quite cool. It's probably going to be terrifying the first time the bike does it and drops onto one cylinder and you go, oh, it's broken, but yeah, it's a neat little trick. Downsides to Euro 5, there are anti-tamper laws coming in. Now, I've already mentioned on a couple of other bike reviews of manufacturers bringing out new bikes and not letting you buy an aftermarket exhaust from the official accessories catalogue. It's actually one of Euro 5's regs is an anti-tamper thing to stop people changing bits on bikes, which is a real shame. So the new FTR, you can't change the cat on it. You can replace the silencer in the end can, and our Carbon and the S come with a Kropovich end can, but you can't put a decap pipe on without cutting the original pipes now, which is a shame. That the tinkerer and the modifier in me finds that a shame. When I took the catalytic converter and silencer off mine and put a complete free-flowing system on, it was very, very loud. Probably a bit too loud. Definitely too loud for the road. So just changing the silencer is a much more balanced modification and as much as you really need to do. In addition, the new catalytic converter, the one that you can't replace, is actually completely reprofiled and chamfered so you can lean over further without it hitting the floor. Anything else to talk about on the new FTRs? Probably the elephant in the room, the big gold bits on the front of them. Öhlins suspension, front and rear, which Öhlins is super high quality suspension. It's also a really nice kind of spec thing. It brings a warm, fuzzy feeling to you knowing you've got Öhlins suspension. It looks beautiful. Again, does it work miles better than the stuff on the S? Not when I'm pushing it around this indoor basketball court. It makes no difference. But we will get a chance to test these in anger and go and put them through their paces. Absolutely, we're going back to the track with these. If Indian have said they've made a more agile, better road bike, it's our job to go and see if we can prove that right. So you have got a hard life because you're going to have to race against the new ones and see if you can compete. And yeah, we're going to get these and give them a good thrashing as soon as Indian let us turn the keys and do some skids. But these ones are going to be put back into a van and taken around to show people again now. I'm going to do some donuts indoors on mine in a minute. And yeah, hopefully Indian keeps their promises and all the things they've said about the new bikes come true. Find out in another episode of Bike World. But for now, here's me doing donuts on an obnoxiously loud bike.